Welcome to Variant Edition, your source for comic book news and culture. I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick. Every week, Variant Edition brings you the best that comics have to offer. It's a half hour of comic book culture, news, reviews, and interviews, and we've been doing this since February of 2006.
So it's spring, and as the poets say, it's time for renewal. And in that spirit, we'd like to introduce another new member of Variant Edition, Eddie Christopherson.
Now, Eddie Christopherson's been a close personal friend of mine and yours, so that was one thing to bring him along, but he also really knows his stuff about comics.
Absolutely, and on top of that, he reads everything I don't. Plus, he was a lot of fun back in our class.
That's true. So he's not going to be replacing anybody. We just thought it might be cool to add some more voices to the show.
If you don't know already, this weekend, May 5th, is Free Comic Book Day. It's great. You go to your comic shop, you see, and you get comics for free.
Everybody likes free, and to celebrate this is our special Free Comic Book Day episode, packed with cool reviews, and some of them will be of comics that you can pick up for free.
Alright, these people want to see reviews? Here they come. So this week I got to take a look at the prologue for World War Hulk and World War Hulk Incredible Hulk number 106. I am really looking forward to this event. This is probably, I think, going to be bigger than Civil War and anything else that we've seen this year from Marvel. If you read the prologue alone, it'll make you want to read the rest of World War Hulk. What you got here is, for those of you who didn't read Planet Hulk, Hulk went to another planet because the Secret Avengers Illuminati guys decided that we'll send him off into space where he can't do any harm. And he lands on a planet where he finds happiness and peace because he's a gladiator, and he becomes a gladiator, and the whole world is all about fighting for your life, and everything's all great. And he takes down an evil king and becomes the new king and takes a wife and setting up a new society, and everything's going well. Until the core from the spaceship melts down and destroys the planet, so the Illuminati gives the Hulk everything he really ever wanted, and then inadvertently takes it all away. So of course Hulk is mad. Really mad, coming back to Earth on a rock spaceship, destroying aliens, gonna rip apart everybody, including Black Bolt, as we saw in the Marvel Selects preview, which, if you haven't read it, it's 4 pages. Pick it up. Not a lot of dialogue. Amazing. All I have to say is, I didn't come here to hear you whisper. I came to hear you scream. So that alone should get you hyped for the rest of the series. Incredible Hulk number 106 is picking up not so much with Hulk, but actually dealing with his cousin, She-Hulk, and this genius kid, a 7th smartest kid on the planet, and he's trying to make things go, and the whole thing is going to come together really nicely. You have to read these comics. You have to read World War Hulk. I am now going with it. Pick it up. Definite must-have.
Hey everybody, it's Nick, and it's been quite a while since I've done a review for Elephantmen, because there's been like 3 issues out, so I'm going to do a 3-issue review right now for you. Issue 6, if you guys have been reading, is mainly the issue based on like the marriage of Obadiah Horn and Sahara, who doesn't have a last name, just Sahara. And it's a really good issue. Not much like really goes on with how like the rest of the issues have been going. It's more of Obadiah and Sahara being on an interview with the press about their marriage, and the marriage between an elephant man and a human is a real big controversy in this story because, you know, elephant men really aren't even on par with people yet, despite the fact that Obadiah Horn has gained in power, but he's seen as evil. So that's why people want to know, what's the deal? And it's a really nice sit-down that they have with the press because they're, like, jabbing into Obadiah, just, like, pissing him off left and right. And Sahara there is just sitting there with, like, a world of infinite patience for everybody. And, like, even bringing this massive, like, angry bastard of a rhino man, you know, to calm down. So the whole time they're going into it, they bring up the fact that Sahara's mother was kidnapped by Mapo and used as, like, I don't know, I guess you can call it like a pod for an elephant man. You know, she was going to be the mother to one of their creatures, and that brought up questions of whether or not her and Obadiah could be brother and sister, which is not DNA tests and all that jazz. But it was just really interesting to see the kind of question that they ask people who would be in a situation like that about, you know, oh, what would your parents think if you came home with a creature like this and, you know, just said, oh, we're getting engaged. You know, people would freak out, and Obadiah freaks out. It's just like, a creature like this, you calling me an animal? And it just goes downhill from there. He cuts off the interview and, you know, has those people kind of taken care of. Issue 7, though, is kind of off from the rest of the series. It's more, I don't know, I thought it touched more down to the character of Hip Flask. Because this issue, it's him telling the little girl Savannah, the one who's been palling around with Ebony, drawing on pictures and giving him flowers and whatnot, he's telling her this pirate story that he heard as like a young hippo lad or whatever, about this guy, Captain Stoneheart on the Hippogriff. And it's this little story about this hippo pirate who finds this, like, truth fairy and all this stuff, and how, like, he kind of brought down his own demise. The story, it's your typical childhood fantasy kind of thing, but what I really liked about it, the entire time, you know, you're reading this issue, you think of Hip Flash from everything that he's done, beating up that croc guy, hitting the streets, being a really good detective, knowing his stuff. And here he is, sitting down with this little girl, telling her this story to, like, calm her down because she ran away to go find Ebony. And at the end of that issue, once he's done telling the story and he brings her back to her mom or wherever, you see Obadiah goes into, like, it's like a smoke shop, I don't know, it looked like an opium den. And the crocodile that Hip Flask had a fight with is in there, you know, trying to wheeze away his pain with, you know, smoke and stuff and everything. And Obadiah's talking to him, and he's just like, oh, who did this to you? He's like, oh, it was the hippo from the precinct. He bit off my tail, hope he chokes on it. And he's like, oh, it's Hip Flask. I thought it was great, because you have this crocodile who's this big, intimidating guy who's just destroying himself in these opium dens because he, you know, he got beat in a fight. And the guy who beat him is now telling pirate stories to a little girl. It's a nice contrast for Hip Flask's character, which I really liked. In issue 8, brought in a brand new character called Trench. He's like a zebra man. Also from Maypone, he was one of the warriors. He's familiar with Hip Flask and Ebony. And they're kind of like on this police shootout kind of thing. Like, they got these criminals cornered, and it's kind of like a showdown. And the thing that was really weird about this, and really cool, was Hip Flask and Ebony, they really have a lighthearted way of going about things. They're not like guns a-blazing. They were created and trained for, like, murder, war, and, like, destruction, but they try not to do that anymore. Trench, on the other hand, embraces that, and he uses that in what he does for the police, which I thought was nice because they're used to seeing peaceful Elephantmen, and now you have this, like, warmongering, bloodthirsty Trench guy, which I thought was nice. So I hope they bring up more with him in these issues, which I'm pretty sure they will, because it's a really good contrast between the laid-backness of an Elephantman and a hippo. So that's it for Elephantmen.
I had the wonderful pleasure of taking a look at this wonderful book, Strongarm. Unfortunately for me, I accidentally picked out number 2 instead of number 1 out of the box, so now I have to go back and read the backstory. But there was no problem with that. I was able to pick up this book and read it and enjoy it and love it for what it was, or what it is. I want to forewarn you, it's not a color comic. It's all completely done in black and white, you know, kind of electric tone. But if you love Akira, and who reading comic books really doesn't like Akira, then you're going to love this book. Boy meets girl, boy and girl fall in love, boy gets gigantic, organic, robotic strong arms, for lack of better terms. Boy wants to kill girl, and in the end, you know, something happens. I don't want to spoil it, and it gives you a really big cliffhanger to be continued. Gotta love this. Gotta check this out. The artwork is stunning, very anime, very Tetsuo. You're gonna want to check this one out.
Spider-Man number 3 comes out this Friday, so what a better time to do a bunch of Spider-Man reviews. So I take a look at the Sensational Spider-Man Annual One-Shot, I take a look at Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 20, and Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane number 19, I think, I hope. But then again, Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, you're really gonna get mad if I get that number wrong? Anyway, what we're looking at here is Spider-Man is still wearing the darker costume that he picked up, which he wore after the symbiote suit left him, and it's just that he's mourning because Aunt May got shot. So Sensational is my favorite out of these 3 books, because it's a nice little Spider-Man still kind of, Peter Parker as Spider-Man still dealing with what the problems with Civil War, the aftermath, him being hunted down by the Feds still, and, you know, Flash Thompson is his buddy, but that's, you know, it's totally different from what's going on in Sensational Spider-Man, from the Neighborhood Spider-Man. What we're looking at here is Spider-Man is having a flashback sequence because he's talking to a police officer and he wants to get arrested. He wants to turn himself in, and the cop's like, don't be an idiot. You know, you're Spider-Man. Suck it up. And then Mary Jane is now being watched very closely by a couple agents from S.H.I.E.L.D. who have stalked and kind of figured out that she goes to this coffee shop and that's where they're going to catch her. So she's being, you know, verbally abused and assaulted in the ways to get them to say, you know, where is your husband? We need Spider-Man. Hand him over, and you'll get full immunity. And she's like, no, he's my husband, you know, type of thing. And it's just a really great flashback sequence. This kind of brings you up to why Spider-Man and Mary Jane work together as such a great couple. And, of course, ends with Mary Jane beeping Spider-Man in a way. She activates one of his spider trackers that she gave him, and he comes a-running, and he crashes through the window, takes down some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, grabs his wife, and goes to the top of the Empire State Building, where, of course, there's a lovely view of the city. great book. I thought this was probably one of the best out of the three. The next book I'm looking at is Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. God, I hope you read the other, because the other thing, the Arrow Spider, E-R-O, is actually Miss Arrow the Nurse, spelt A-R-R-O-W. Very clever of them, Arrow and Arrow. But, you know, Flash is going to have to mate with Miss Arrow so that she can, you know, mate him and have babies, and then she's going to eat them to provide food for the babies. It's a little bit out there, but okay, whatever. They're in a bowling alley, there's some fighting going on, the webbing looks a little bit too dark, but that's just me, you know, maybe they had a problem with continuity, maybe I'm just seeing things that I want to see because they use black webbing. But it's more of a gray or a blue, and it's, you know, it's a nice fight, but it doesn't really go anywhere, because she just kind of, like, runs away and then takes Flash anyway, and Spider-Man's like, there's no way you're going to get Flash because he's not here. You probably got him back in the sewers. Damn. So, interesting to see where they're going to go with this. I'm not putting a lot of hope into it, because the other was a letdown for many a Spider-Man fan. I love the other, so I'm still loving this book. And, of course, Spider-Man loves Mary Jane. Issue number 18. It's issue 18 of Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. Still dealing with the stupid things they're dealing with. Harry Osborn has used his father's advice to get into MJ's pants in a way, but not quite there yet because it's a teen book, so you can't do that. And a bunch of stupid crazy. If you're a teenage girl, pick up Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane number 18. If you're not a teenage girl, pick up Sensational Spider-Man Annual. It's just your best Spider-Man bet right now, especially with the movie coming out.
Hey, there they are.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Mike. And we're going to check out this awesome Venom this week for Variant Edition here with Toy and Statues.
It's a Bowen Designs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Bowen Designs.
Quality
Venom,
work.
New Venom.
Sculpted by Ryan Trificana.
Yeah.
Ah, I got it right.
Now, I heard a rumor. This is just a rumor, but I heard a rumor that a friend of mine is a Mr. Bonk.
Ah,
very
Mr.
respectable
Bonk,
fella.
very respectable.
He
Hi,
tells
Mike
me
Bonk.
that he looks at the sculpture forums a lot, that this was sculpted on a sculpture forum. Randy must look at the sculpture forums and actually bought the sculpture from a guy to sell at his company, which is very cool for somebody like me who sculpts a little bit to know that you could be selling a Bowen piece or Bowen will be selling your piece. Anyway, let's get to it. Awesome sculpture. Very nice. Very, very nice Venom.
Very big chunk of resin you got here, too. Huge.
Yeah.
2,000, right?
Yeah, like 2,000 of them was made. The hands are amazing. Very cool. You got to check it out. The muscle's awesome. I mean, the only complaints I got about it is if you look at it from the side, he's got a little bit of the squashed peanut head going, but that's a style that Venom was done in. So.
And he's still very nice. Metal flake paint.
Yeah.
Nice airbrushing.
Yeah. Nice spiny teeth. Beautiful. Check it out.
Gotta love him.
All right, issue 8 of Fell. Odd issue. No real story, no real anything. It's just pretty much our main character's day in the life of. Every box on the pages is like written with a post-it note. It's pretty much like what he does throughout his day. Finds his dead body because some pimp beat her and this and that. But it's really, really, really well done. It's just the way that he comments on it. It's just like from people seeing this from a regular, our point of view as compared to his character, it's really nice to see like the morbid, cynical way that he sees these things. Most of us would crack down after a week of this. He kind of like embraces it. I mean, there's great scenes when he gets, he's saying, I got a call from these guys who found this guy in the park talking about he's the king of Vakistan or whatever it was. And they're like, they knew I wanted to meet him. And the next panel is him like punching this guy in the teeth. It's really nice. And it's just, it goes more into like how Snowtown really is, how bad it is, how there's really nothing good, and just how our detective Fell goes throughout it. So I hope the next issue is a bit more story-driven, but this one, definitely enjoyable.
Hi, my name is Eddie. I'm the new guy here. I'm doing my first review, which Nick gave me the pleasure of doing New Walking Dead number 37, which is a great issue. It starts off with Laurie having a flashback to an old character way back when you just never expected to come back, where it's a really messed up situation. And then Rick wakes up in the morning with her, they have a nice conversation, kinda. He's talking, realizing the things they've taken for granted over the time, over the situation they live in. And he has to make a crib for his baby and all this other stuff to prep because she's due in less than a month. And then it goes into our second scene, which is Maggie and Glenn finally getting married in the cafeteria by Maggie's father. And then it proceeds to a basketball game, which they have in the gym, which has a great scene, I think one of the best scenes between Rick and his son, where his son says, Dad, you probably could beat them if you went out there and stuff like that. And he looks at his arm, realizing Rick's arm is cut off. He gets all sad, and Rick just, pats him on the head. He goes, "Oh, don't worry about it, son. Just think of it as a big boo-boo," which is a really good line, because it's like, how do you cheat your son in circumstances like that, and that's the best way to do it, Rick is starting to plan. He's starting to realize that the other guys from the other town are going to start looking for the guy he killed, and it's not good because they're going to come looking and they might take over. So Rick's like, we need to defend ourselves. Now it's going to be kind of like a war kind of thing going. They realize, wow, we just don't have enough guns. So, Rick's talking to the other guys, and they're thinking, well, we have to go to the National Guard base. That's the only place where we could get more weapons. Maybe we could get there before the other guys. And that's what they do. They all plan to go, but Rick has to stay back due to his arm, and he doesn't think he could do anything, but feels really bad. And basically the issue ends where Rick's explaining this to his wife and feels really bad, and then the shocker, which is Lori, decides to tell him what she was thinking about in the beginning with that character you just did not expect.
And the comic you've all been waiting for, if you're me, War of the Undead, issue 3. All I gotta say is, once again, Walt Flanagan does not disappoint. Comic ends awesome. It's everything you would expect the last issue of a series of comics about Nazis using universal-type monsters to help take over the world. It's got the Mummy and Frankenstein just throwing down. The Mummy throws him through this wall, and there's like an alien laboratory. That's picking up because, Dracula wakes up and he's going to town on the Nazis, and the Wolfman's kind of like regaining himself and trying not to give in to the beast, as he calls it, while another Nazi throws like Iron Cross ninja stars at him that are made of silver, so kind of slow him down. It was just a really great issue, not really too like spooky or creepy. It's just like, okay, the Nazis set up all this stuff, and now it's crumbling down just as fast as they assembled it. The monsters aren't working for the Nazis. They were captured by the Nazis, controlled by the Nazis, so now the monsters are fighting back, and it's an awesome, awesome bloodbath. You see Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein just wiping out like a sea of Nazi zombies. They're just coming in wave after wave, and they're just tearing them apart. It is so great. And all the Nazis get excellent, bloody, and gory as hell comeuppance. It's an awesome issue. The end is nice if you're a fan of like a happy ending for the monsters, which I'm a big fan of. So War of the Undead does not disappoint, and I must compliment the little subtitle, Destroy All Monsters, to all you kaiju fans out there. We all know that. So if you want to see a good conclusion to a sadly short series, check out War of the Undead, number 3.
All right, 2 Tuesdays ago, you heard me tell you that Drain number 3 was coming out by Cebulski and Takeda, and, the time and tides have caught up with me, and here it is. I took a look at it, read it 2-3 times already because it's that good. The story picks up right where you left off. You got Freya and Shinatsu. They're locked in this super sexy, awesome scene in the very first page. Freya's draining Shinatsu's blood, and then you get to see this whole wonderful backstory about, where they're coming from and how their inner demons are kind of playing against each other and what drives them as vampires, so to speak. Lots of blood, lots of gore, and lots of blouse-busting action, so to speak. So if you haven't picked up Drain by now, you better do it today because it's just awesome.
Free Comic Books Day, Amazing Spider-Man. I love this story. This is a great book. Definitely pick it up because it's not going to cost you anything. Duh. Stupid move right there if you don't pick up this book. It's a great tale. It's Peter Parker dealing his life as Peter Parker, not as Spider-Man, which is something that we don't see that often. Usually it's a nice 50-50 split, but this is just all about Peter Parker in the beginning. It's all about, it's his aunt's birthday, and he's got her favorite lemon cake, and he's going to bring it back to her house, and then this guy named Overdrive almost hits him with a car. And chaos ensues, so he has to web up the lemon cake, and he chases down Overdrive and tears off the top of the car, and lo and behold, Overdrive is a big Spider-Man fan and has a bunch of Spider-Man merchandise on the dashboard. Okay. Other than that, you got villains who are betting on how long Overdrive is actually going to... 5-1 odds in Overdrive beating Spider-Man. Never gone up against Spider-Man before. Big fan of Spider-Man. Don't know what's going to happen. Helping with police there. It's just a great book. This is... If you want to get somebody into Spider-Man, or if you have a kid who is going to see Spider-Man 3 this weekend, then you can stop by your comic shop and pick up one of these for him. It's a freebie comic. You can't go wrong. And of course, for all of us true fans, you got to pick up this book because there's a nice Iron Man, Spider-Man fight at the end of it. It's like maybe 4 or 5 pages, but it's well worth it. So definitely pick up this book. Free Comic Book Day, Marvel hitting it on head.
So, everyone here on Variant Edition is reading the free comics from Free Comic Book Day. I am no exception. I had the absolute delight of reading The Astounding Wolfman. The first, and this is like the official first issue of this comic. There's no other way that you're going to get this than from Free Comic Book Day. Honestly, that's not that bad. That's saying, here's your first taste for free. If you don't like it, jog on. If not, keep buying them. But the first one was free, so there you go. Anyway, written by The Walking Dead's Robert Kirkman, who we all know and love. Amazing little story. Just a guy gets mauled by a bear on like a camping adventure, and he's like this big marketing kind of businessman. So a month later, he recovers and all this crap, but they don't know how because it was too fast. He didn't have skin grafts and all this junk. But, you know, he's running around as a naked wolfman at night, so that might help. So anyway, it goes into more about how this guy still doesn't know that he's a werewolf, despite the fact that he runs around naked as a wolfman. I think people would remember that. But it's more of his involvement with trying to keep his life together with his business kind of going down the drain, his wife and his daughter and him not really having time for them. And now it's even more constrained because he doesn't have time for them because he's a wolfman, which is kind of weird. Kind of slow. It just pretty much gives you like a taste of the characters, which is great. But at the end, they introduce a brand new character to this story. At like the ass end of it, I think it's on like the last 2 pages. You don't know his intentions, you know, his angle, what he's going to do, or even who he is. He just kind of shows up and starts saying, "Oh, I thought you were going to be turning into this. I know a lot about the supernatural." And if you read the back of the comic, you can see from issue 2 what's going to be happening. I'm just saying, you know, from the route it seems to be going, it might be a superhero Wolfman kind of thing. So, superhero Wolfman, vampire sidekick, good stuff. So, check it out. It's free. Why not?
Alright, that's it for Variant Edition. If you haven't already, go get a free comic. Check out freecomicbookday.com for where you can find a shop near you.
And a big welcome to all of our Akimbo viewers. If you don't know already, we're finally up on Akimbo On Demand.
It feels great to be on TV.
And speaking of TV, this is a good time to let all our viewers know that we have some plans to add more new things to Variant Edition. Keep an eye on our website. There should be something new very soon.
Oh, and we're back on schedule too.
That's right, finally, so everybody out there, you can start shutting up right now. But don't forget, there are quite a few ways to watch us. You got iTunes, Vio, YouTube, Google Video, Blip TV, and on TV through Akimbo On Demand. But if you want the best quality video and the quickest downloads, head on over to VariantEdition.com.
That's like 10 ways to watch us.
Insane.
Thanks for watching Variant Edition. Catch you later.
God damn.